used to do on like the opposing media conference calls. He would just go through like the entire special teams roster of the other team. This guy, I respect.
I gotta go. See you. Gonna kick this off by just thanking our players. Everyone's aware that there's a lot of change, right? There's a change in our scheduling, practices, coaches, and our players have done a heck of a job, adapting to that and adjusting on the fly. And it's been awesome to see just the transformation from the first day of OTAs to that last preseason game. You could see the way that all the coaches, and especially Flus, wants this game to be played. The guys are doing it. They're finishing. They're playing aggressive. They're competing, which is really cool to see. I feel like you can feel the needle moving, and just in terms of the way we're approaching how we play the game of football. And again, that a lot of credit should go to the coaches for putting the time in. Everything we've said in the beginning in terms of being teachers, they are, and we've seen the development of a lot of players on the roster, and it's awesome to see. The other thing is just giving a lot of credit to the front office. There's been a lot of work done, obviously, over the last few days. Very few hours have been slept because we're putting work in. We're trying to do everything we can to improve this roster, and Ian especially, and then some of the other staff members, Jeff King, Trey Koziel, put a lot of time in to get us where we are today. I'll let Ian say a few things.
Yeah, I thought just to piggyback on that, what Ryan was saying, with our process, it really started at the beginning of training camp, led by Jeff and C. White, in terms of assigning players from different teams for us to evaluate and watch. And then last week, we really got into the draft room and felt like we were in there every single hour of every single day, just grinding tape and talking through the process and talking through the players. And we had a chance to bring in some of our college guys and introduce them to our process, which was really helpful just in terms of getting some of the refamiliarizing ourselves with the character and the background of the players coming out of college. So I thought it was a really good process, smooth, and couldn't be more thankful for the help of Mike Sandarelli and Ryan Hubley and those guys, making it an easy process in the draft room as well.
Ryan, we haven't talked to you since camp began. Obviously, a lot went down with Roquan over the course of the last 5 or 6 weeks. There was obviously a big gap between the number that you guys had in mind and the numbers that he had in mind. How do you explain, from your vantage point, why reaching a compromise was so difficult?
Yeah, I feel like I hit on that when I popped in after that family day, when everything was going down. And, we're in a place now, and I think Roquan he said it perfectly. We've shifted gears, and it's all ball now. So it really doesn't make sense to go back and go through all that. And the one thing, he doesn't get enough credit for being able to change gears like that and going out and just playing football and doing it the right way. And I'm proud of him for handling that way. And he's out there, and we're better because of that. So, I really don't want to go back into the whole contract thing.
Just to follow up, he did use some pretty sharp language in saying things were distasteful and that you weren't negotiating in good faith. How do you address the relationship part of this thing going forward, knowing that obviously you guys have to do some repair in that regard?
Yeah, I think that's it's human nature. When things happen and two sides don't agree on something, it's going to take a little time to do that, and I got a lot of faith that that's going to happen, and I'm excited for him.
Ryan, do you think what gives you optimism, or what is your cause to believe that you can work that out long term with him, that this is still a relationship that could be saved beyond this year?
Yeah, well, first of all, he's a good player, and that's never changed, and he's a good dude. So I have faith that he's going to have a good year, and we'll work on our relationship and all that. It's not even like a bad thing either. It's just when we've all been there, right? You have disagreements, and then you got to come back together and be teammates. So that's what I expect.
What was it about Tevin Jenkins' game that you thought he was better suited, or apparently you guys think he's better suited to play guard than tackle, where he was originally and played in college?
Yeah, we probably look at that more of a holistic thing than anything, and it's like, how can we make the best five? And so we did a lot of shuffling around. Everyone was aware of that, and when we got to this point and he was in that guard, I thought some good things happened on the field during some of the games. So I'm happy for him. And again, that's part of that change I talked about. That's difficult. Guys got shuffled around, and moved up front, in the back, and we are trying to find our best five. And, you know, the way we got to that Cleveland game, we felt pretty good about it. So I'm really happy for him and the progress that he's made. And, you know, he's settling in well, and I think he's going to help us there.
When we talked to Tevin after making the team, he said he was still worried about being traded. Should he be?
Should he be traded?
Should he be worried about being traded?
I had a good conversation with him, and I told him how proud I was of him. And, you know, again, I think it's about building the best five, and I think we have a good five with him at guard. So I think it's good for us to have Tevin at guard right now.
In the draft a year ago, you guys had a pretty clear directive in Kansas City to look at the offensive line. What was your evaluation of Leatherwood in that moment? And why do you think that a player who the Raiders had no use for can thrive here?
Yeah, so I think the big thing is going back, talented player, physically gifted for sure, prototype in his size and movement. And then in terms of like success with him here, I think we all believe in player development here, and we've put pieces in place to allow players to be their best selves. So we're going to approach that in many different ways, and we're going to give them an opportunity to develop and grow. Hey, like, forget the draft pick thing. Like, that's over. So let's start from the ground floor. Let's build you up and take your time, and whatever that is, we want to put them in the best position to succeed. And Chris Morgan and his staff, you know, and everyone around from the weight room, you know, we're going to give it everything we got.
Is he a tackle?
I think he has ability to play multiple positions, which again is a huge benefit.
Where do you want to get your first look at him? Tackle or guard?
It doesn't matter. I mean, you've seen how we've shuffled people around on the O-line, so wherever he settles in, that's what we'll do. I trust the coaches to go ahead and have a process for that, and I look forward to it. As soon as we get out of here, I'm going to go run and see what he looks like.
Obviously, by claiming him, you have to keep him on the 53. How do you envision that playing out over the coming weeks as he tries to get up to speed with the offense? I mean, when can he be in a position where he can potentially at least provide depth on a game day?
Yeah, it's hard to tell right now. I mean, he flew in super late last night, had a physical, and just got out there, so it's hard to really do that.
Brian, how do you evaluate what you've seen from Justin, through camp and then through the three preseason games, especially that last one where he kind of looked like he was clicking?
Yeah, I think there's progress being made. He looks comfortable. I think before, again, I kind of talked about this, but like his technique and his fundamentals and his feet, like then the new offense, new coaches, new system. There's a lot going on both physically and mentally. So I thought as the preseasons played out and even practice, you could see things start to slow down and him read defenses quicker and pull the trigger, and it was really cool to see him finish up that way.
Ryan, as an extension of that, you talked obviously in the opening about the trust in your coaches. I'm curious what you've observed about the connection between Justin and Luke and how that's kind of evolved in the 4 or 5 months that they've had together.
Yeah, no, they have a good connection. Their communication's really good, so I've been pleased with that.
Do you think the third preseason game that Justin Fields, for him, that was a turning point at all?
With the preseason, I don't think you don't want to like overvalue preseason. You don't want to undervalue. It's like somewhere in the middle. So it was positive, so we'll take that, and let's just see, the lights are going to come on, and it's going to be real, and they're going to count. So we'll see from there, but I'm happy with the progress.
Ryan, Matt Eberflus said the other day just about the receiver depth. He felt good with where they're at, but even he noted that there were 3 healthy guys practicing. How comfortable are you just knowing that you do have injuries right now, and are you comfortable like rolling that group out there, expecting that they might be able to return for week 1?
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that in the next few days and whenever they're going to get out there and we'll have more of a full unit.
Do you think you still need to add to it? To the receiver room?
We're going to be completely I've explained this before. We're going to be relentless and constantly look for talent, and we'll be aggressive when we need to be aggressive and conservative when we need to be conservative, but we're always looking to get better.
What gave you the confidence that you guys could help N'Keal Harry when he's coming from a very reputable organization and it didn't work out? What made you think that you guys could make that work? And what is a realistic timetable for when he could be back?
You want me to
No
hit?
one's asking you questions.
Yeah, nobody. We're just happy with the player that Nikhil is, what he showed in college coming out. Once he gets healthy, the main thing is just getting him healthy and back on the field. What he showed when he was in practice during training camp, physical specimen, strong at the catch point. It's just unfortunate that the injury happened, but we look forward to getting him back on the field.
And when do you think that will be?
It's hard to tell right now.
Yeah.
We have the designate to return on him, so we gotta wait a few weeks, and then when he's healthy, we'll get him out there.
Brian, what have you seen of Matt Eberflus throughout the course of training camp, the off-season program, that gives you confidence in your head coach?
Yeah, I love that dude. Like, you go to meetings. Well, first of all, the schedule and everything. He is detailed. He's organized. He has a team around him to help him be organized. He's consistent. His message is clear. There is no gray area. When he approaches the team meetings and gets in front of the guys, he's got juice, but it's not fluff. It's not fake. It's real, and you can feel that energy that he has. And the guys love it. I love it. I'm so pumped about his leadership and how he's handled this team.
Brian, it's obviously your objective to win every game that you play, but at this stage in the process, how will you measure success this season? Is there some quantifiable metric that you have in mind for what that looks like?
Yeah, it's interesting. I got asked a question, I forget when it was, but it was like, if you take wins and losses out of it, like, how do you measure success? What would be success? And my answer was resilience. And it's a team, because again, I've been on teams that Super Bowl teams and teams, anywhere in between, and the teams that can just stay level and look at what are the solutions instead of just pointing at the problem, right? And being negative, and like, look at that, like, it's not good. No, how are we gonna fix it? So as an organization, as a team, as a locker room, as a staff, like, just being resilient through the ups and downs and just continue to fight and have that arrow pointing up. That was my response to that, and that's kind of how I feel.
Brian, one of the criticisms of this roster that still stands today is that in a critical year for your quarterback's development, you really haven't given him a big enough support to make him successful. So, like, if it doesn't work out, the criticism will be, well, you set him up to fail. Do you understand that? Do you get that? And why do you think that's wrong? What's your response to that?
Listen, I mean, when we're building this thing, like, that was the goal coming in, is like, try to surround him with the best talent that we can. But at the same time, I've never gotten in the way from the fact that we have to build the entire roster. And I'm not going to overreach and do things crazy to get a name or anything like that. So our approach has been consistent from the draft all the way through. We're going to continue to add talent all around, the best that we can. It may not be the name or a name that everyone wants to hear, but we're going to develop the players that we have here. We're going to continue to fight to make that the best unit we can. Mooney's balling right now. I'm excited about him. That's going to help Justin. I'm excited about Cole. I think our protections and our O-line's gotten better. Some of the guys have been a little dinged up, right? So it's hard to see everything. But when they get back, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Velas coming in and making plays and being a factor that can do different things and bring speed. So I understand that. To do it all right away, like, that's hard to do with some of the resources that you have, right? So over time, we're going to continue to do that. That's always in our head, is to put our quarterback in the best situation.
You said the protections are better. How confident are you that they'll be good enough?
Yeah, we're going to see when the lights come on. I think through preseason, they have gotten better. That's a preseason. We're going to see when the lights come on, and we'll continue to adjust, and we'll do everything we can to make that unit better and everything around him better.
What are you guys seeing in Cole right now? What strikes you about the camp he's had and really the progression he's had?
Yeah, I'd say the confidence, just seeing him coming out and watching tape last year, and he seems to be enjoying himself, having fun. He's got a large catching radius. He's stacking days together, and that's the cool thing about him, and just seeing his maturation and his confidence show out there.
When you were scouting and eventually drafted Braxton Jones, was it that at that point that you guys had circled him as a potential starting left tackle, or did he come in and surprise you guys and say, oh, he's much more advanced than we thought?
Yeah, so we thought he definitely had starter potential and he could develop. I've been blown away by how fast he has developed. I think that there's a lot of credit for our coaches and Chris Morgan, and they've done an excellent job, and he continues to kind of check the boxes. You go from OTAs, like, hey, that guy looks pretty good. And then you go to, all right, but we got to go to training camp. We got to put pads on. Put pads on. Still does pretty good. All right, let's see when the lights come on and go to preseason. Is he going to do it then? Does it get, because the longer you do this, and you've all seen, you see these spikes, and then like, where did he go? You know, and he just continues to climb and get better and better and better. And then now that next phase is week 1, he's going to see a big dog, you know? So, and I told him too, there's going to be ups and downs. And I think part of being a really good player is the short memory. Like, how can you overcome some of those bad plays? That's going to be the next step for him. And just seeing, you know, those top rushers in this league, it's no joke. A lot of guys struggle with them. But can you battle, can you fight, and have that short memory when things go bad? And do you have the toughness to stick in there? So I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for what he's become. He has not given that spot up, and he just keeps fighting and fighting and fighting. So I'm proud of that kid.
As an offensive lineman, do you believe?
The offensive lineman, too.
Both of you, as offensive linemen, do you believe in the idea that you need to gel as one of 5 and that it takes, you know, time on the field together to get there? And how do you balance that with trying to get the best 5 on the field and there being moving parts almost until 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think as an offensive lineman and former offensive lineman, it does matter, right, to be out there and play with your teammates and gel. I do think the room matters too, right, and the depth matters. So versatility on the back end. You can never have too many offensive linemen, and then being in that room, bonding together, out on the practice field, we have a great group, and then all of that matters.
Ryan, if you had to change your approach at all, dealing with like the emotions of the players, whether it's Roquan representing himself, I mean, more and more guys are going to do the same thing, or Tevin being the subject of, trade talk. Have you had to change an approach, or has it made you, pay attention more to the emotions of the guys?
Yeah, I feel like paying attention to the emotions of the guys, it's a real thing. I think I do a decent enough job to put myself in their shoes and understand why their emotions are there. So I think my reaction to that of not getting upset or like all over the place, I think has been fairly good. But also I think, I can just always communicate better. I think we all can just communicate better, be more clear. And I think that's been pretty good, but there's always room to improve, I guess.
Ian, what's your evaluation of Tevin Jenkins? Just how his story is kind of, like, how does it resonate with you, him taking over the right guard spot after being off a little bit?
Resilience, right? He had up and down early part of his career just with a back injury, coming from Oklahoma State, getting in here, and then early in training camp this year, another injury, and then for him to come in and then play guard, a position that he wasn't as familiar with. It's just a testament to the kid, right? And his resilience and his work ethic. Couldn't be more proud of him.
How about Larry Borum? He's not discussed as much, and he's your starting right tackle.
Yeah.
Secondary guy. What has he done to win that job, in your guys' opinions?
Shoot, I mean, we came in and we had to lose some weight, right? We had to the scheme was going to change. He did that, and he was locked in, and he's been more and more consistent as we've gone along. He's another one we're proud of. How about Sam Mustapher stepping in and doing a pretty good job at center as well? That's another guy. He's just gritty, it's tough. Like you saw, Justin took that hit. Like those guys, they're getting it, right? They're stepping up when they need to, and they're protecting their guy, and they're bringing that mentality that we want to see.
With Riley Reef coming in, I mean, you just think like the timing of when he was signed, a veteran with that much experience, that he'd come in and be a starter right away. But obviously, it hasn't panned out that way. Do you look at it as, are you happy that some of the younger guys maybe outperformed some of the veterans that you brought in, like Riley Reef?
So I think the big thing there is, he comes in and what he offers that room is a ton of experience and leadership, and you can feel that. He is engaged and helping those guys constantly, but he's also preparing himself to be ready if his number were to be called or to be the guy. And he was open-minded with that. We're open-minded with that. We're excited to have him. I think he's a huge asset to the room.
You obviously have to keep one eye beyond 2022 as you're building this thing. And
we're hitting the road. We got 3 games this weekend we're going to.
But in addition to college, it's some of your own guys, right, that you have to figure out how they fit in your plans for the future. With David Montgomery specifically, what do you want to see in this season, and how do you kind of figure out how to value that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I love David, so just, there's a different scheme, and just seeing him approach that, he had a nice start with the preseason game, but really just fitting into that new scheme, zone scheme, and just attacking and being productive and consistent and dependable. I think that's what we look for every player.
Did your philosophy on that specific position evolve during your time in Kansas City? There were a lot of different ways that you guys did it when you were with the Chiefs, with guys that had big contracts, guys that came in and played on rookie deals and then went elsewhere.
Not really. I mean, we just want to be productive, and then we'll kind of handle the business part as we go.
With Robert Quinn, there would seem to be a lot of factors that could have made him a trade candidate, a guy that you, as you were trading other guys like Khalil Mack, for example. Why has it been important for you to keep him here?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Robert Quinn. He's been productive. The one thing, and it's not saying that Khalil wasn't, but for Robert, he brings one of those examples of what Matt wanted to see out of his defense, and being relentless, high motor. That's that guy. And again, another leader in the room that can show the young guys the way, and he's been doing a really good job at that.
That's more valuable to you than whatever you could get through cap savings or draft assets coming in.
Yeah, and that's that balance of, there's just, I think, a misconception. It's like, tear this down and rebuild it all. It's not that. There's also a feel for the room. It's how can you make the room better? How can you stay, productive and win ball games? And I think he helps us with that.
Brian, you targeted Ogunjobi in free agency and ended up with Justin Jones. How do you feel about the way that has played out, and how close has Jones been to giving you what you expected from Ogunjobi?
Yeah, I'm excited about Justin. Justin's another, one of those leaders in the room, and he's got a high motor. He's been productive, and I'm excited, to see him this year and be the guy that we think he can be.
Can he give you what you thought you were going to get from Ogunjobi, though?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Ryan?
With Kyler, at what point in the kind of process, I mean, you obviously played inside at Washington. How did that kind of come together from your guys' perspective, and what have you liked about what he's brought to you inside?
Yeah, his skill set, to me, it travels both inside and outside, and he's done a really good job. I think it's just, it's like the O-line and anywhere else. Getting the best three in your sub package is important, and I think he's proven that he can do that. And it's, athletically, the twitch, the quickness, and also the instincts are a huge part of that.
I'll touch on that real quick, just with Kyler. His balance is uncanny, and his movement, his ball skills, to be able to do that inside and out is tremendous. I think he's going to be a really good player for us.
Ryan, since you've got here, it's been hitting the ground running, a lot of firsts for you, this whole process from even getting to Lake Forest and now getting ready for this first regular season game. Is there a part of you that's anxious to, have a game happen, see all of your work on the field in action?
Yeah, yep. No, I mean, that's what we do it for, right? It's just making the most competitive roster possible and getting a game day and seeing how it looks, and you just continue to adapt and to change and improve where we can.